I have a great gluten-free win for you. Guess what? Making gluten-free gnocchi is easier than traditional gnocchi. This recipe you can make in 30 minutes. You can make it for a weeknight dinner, and it's way simpler than the version that my Italian mom and my Italian grandma made growing up. I'm gonna show you how. So the version that my grandma always made and then my mom always made used mashed potatoes. So this recipe, no peeling, no mashing, no extra step of the potatoes. Believe me, I tried. But when I used the mashed potatoes with gluten-free flour, it tasted like mashed potatoes. It did not taste like pasta at all. And I think it's because gluten-free starches use a lot of rice in their mixture, and there wasn't enough variance between the mashed potatoes and the rice, so it kind of just took on that same texture. So then I pivoted to another type of gnocchi, and that's ricotta gnocchi. So this is what I recommend. It adds like a creaminess to it. It coats the gluten-free starches, so it works a lot better. I recommend using whole milk ricotta just because it has more fat in it, and fat is gluten-free flour's kind of good friend. So you will need a 15-ounce container of whole milk ricotta, and then 1 egg, which helps with the binding, a tablespoon of olive oil, just adding more fat to the recipe, and then I have 1/4 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. So this does two things. This helps with the flavor, and then it also helps bind the ingredients together. I'm just gonna mix that all together before we add in our flour. All right, the flour, super important. So you need 2 cups of gluten-free flour, which is around 308 grams. Now, I tested this recipe with a few different flours. I did King Arthur and I did Bob's Red Mill, and then I did Cup for Cup. King Arthur and Bob's Red Mill kind of had similar results. The dough came together really good, it rolled fine, everything was looking good until I cooked it. I found the consistency to be a little bit mushier. It also had this like off-putting grainy taste to it. And then when I cooked the Bob's Red Mill or the King Arthur versions in a sauce, the gnocchi kind of fell apart. So what I highly recommend is using Cup for Cup gluten-free flour. This just had a better texture. It held up to boiling water. You could cook it in a sauce. You can freeze it and then boil it from frozen. So it just has a little bit more staying power, kind of like traditional gnocchi should. And then just stir that all to combine, and then that's it. That is our dough. So you could see how much simpler it is than a mashed potato version of gnocchi. It comes together super quick. You want to make sure the flour is all worked in. So if you can't manipulate it anymore with your spoon, usually I will go in there with my hands too and kind of just knead it to combine just to make sure everything's worked in. Okay, we're ready to roll out our dough. So I'm just using a silicone baking mat for my work surface. If you don't have that, you could just lightly flour your countertop too. So take your dough on there, and then I kind of just knead it again until it's a nice smooth ball. And then I'm shaping that into a thick disc. And if anything ever gets like sticky, you could have a little bit of gluten-free flour next to you to kind of help with that. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna divide this into 4 even sections, because we're gonna work with 2 sections at a time. I mean, my grandma would make so much gnocchi growing up. I don't know how she did all this. This is enough for like maybe 5 or 6 people, but she would make them for our family gatherings for maybe 30 people. So you're gonna take the dough and roll it into about 1 inch log. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my hands and I'm kind of working it out. If you get any holes in there, I just kind of pinch them together. All right, move that one aside, and then we'll just continue on with this one, and I'll show you why we're doing 2 at one time. Okay, so now we have our 2 logs. The reason I do this is because I'm gonna cut 2 logs at once. So I just have a baking sheet. You can line this with parchment if you'd like, especially if you're going to freeze the gnocchi before cooking it. And you just take a sharp knife and slice the 2 at once in about 1/2-inch slices. If you find your knife is sticking at all, you could put a little bit of gluten-free flour on each side too, but mine seems to be doing good. My grandma never did this, probably because she was making so much gnocchi. But if you want to have the traditional gnocchi shape, you can take a fork, kind of put it down, put the gnocchi so it's vertical, so they both line up vertically, and then take your thumb and then kind of roll down, and that'll give you the traditional shape. The other thing is, and we have never been able to get to the bottom of this, we still have family in Italy that we see from time to time, and we've even asked them and they have no idea. But my grandma would always call gnocchi, we never called it gnocchi growing up, she called it sergitas. And we have no idea where that word came from, why she called gnocchi sergitas, and I don't know, maybe YouTube is the perfect platform if anyone out there knows where that word came from. She grew up in, it's called Afida, which is on the about 3 hours away from Rome on the opposite coast. So I don't know if it was a regional thing, but our family still lives there and they do not call gnocchi sergitas. All right, before you're ready to cook your gnocchi, what I do is I have a colander with a plate underneath it because I'm going to transfer the cooked gnocchi to this. I have a wire strainer, which just helps lift it in and out. And then I have my gnocchi right here. If your gnocchi is frozen, you go ahead and you just boil it straight from frozen. It'll just take a little bit more time. If you're boiling it from frozen, be really careful about how much you add to the pot at one time because you don't want to bring the boiling water down to not boiling. So I would go a little less aggressive about how much gnocchi you're putting in there. The other thing is salted water. Now, okay, Italians, we salt the crap out of our water. Gluten-free pasta really takes on all of that salt. So if you're just doing maybe more just like a butter and Parmesan cheese, I would salt the water. If you are tossing this in a very flavorful sauce, I would omit the salt from the water, or I would just salt it very lightly because you can really taste the salt on the pasta after it cooks. So just kind of adjust the salt that you're doing on the water according to what you're gonna toss it into. Just to make things easier so you're not plopping in one at a time, I just put it on my skimmer and then I'm going to drop it in the water and then just kind of move it around to make sure nothing's sticking together. And then what you do, I don't really have an exact time for you, but you're just going to wait until it floats to the top. With gluten-free gnocchi, I found that you need to cook it a little bit longer. So once it floats to the top, I let it cook for about another 30 to 45 seconds before lifting it out. I mean, look at these bad boys. Does it get any better than fresh homemade pasta that's gluten-free? I mean, oh my gosh. When you can recreate a classic that you had and you loved growing up, it just feels so good. My whole family loves this recipe and they don't even have to eat gluten-free. I make this a lot for company too because it's really great because you can make it ahead of time and you can freeze, so it's perfect for meal prep. You could toss it in any sauce. You could even cook it fresh in a sauce. So if you have a sauce like a bolognese or anything like that, you can actually add the gnocchi to the sauce and cook it in there. It is very versatile. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and if you like recipes and tips like this, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.